DKT UPSC CSE। अगर आप केवल सिविल सर्विस परीक्षा के प्रीलिम्स, मेंस और इंटरव्यू के वीडियो देखना चाहते हैं तो सब्सक्राइब करें DKT UPSC CSE चैनल। यहाँ आपको टॉपर्स के वीडियो रैंक के हिसाब से अरेंज मिलेंगे। चैनल के लिंक के लिए डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में जाएं।
Hi, I'm Roja S Rajan. I have secured AIR 108 in UPSC CSE 2021 and I'm getting into the Indian Foreign Services, and this was my second attempt, and Anthropology was my optional, and I had secured 151 marks in paper 2. So in this video I'll be discussing about how you can handle paper 2 Anthropology, and what I have done, what are my strategies when it comes to Anthropology paper 2 specifically. So since I've done self-study for Anthropology, paper 2 was a little bit difficult for me to tackle because there was so much areas where we need conceptual clarity, and there's so much interlinkage with sociology. And since I'm from a science background, because I did my graduation in BTech Computer Science Engineering, I found it very difficult to go through this topics like caste studies and village studies, because there we needed much more sociological understanding. So initially I thought I could cover paper 2 in maybe like 2 months, but I gravely underestimated the paper. Then I understood that there should be more time given to the paper so that we completely understand what these thinkers have tried to convey to us from their studies about caste system or about any specific tribes. So I had to put in more effort. So I took around 2 to 3 months in the first year of preparation for paper 2, and since the exam got postponed and I couldn't clear in the first attempt, in the second attempt is where I could properly give time for paper 2, and in that time period again, like I said, I could do paper 2 in 2 to 3 months. So when it comes to paper 2, resources are really less, that you might be already aware of. So most of the names we hear will be this Sasa committee report is there. Then there is this Nadeem Hasnain's books are there. Pretty much this will be what we'll be hearing for paper 2. So we initially think that it is very less in content, we can cover it fast. But the truth is these books are not suffice in today's times, because when you are looking at the new toppers or the recent toppers, when we are looking at their notes, what we are understanding is people have upped the game to the next level. So you need to bring in more deeper understanding. You need to quote more thinkers in the answers, so that the paper will look more like a anthropology answer sheet than like a general studies answer sheet. So in order to do that, we'll have to do a little bit more research and little bit more extra reading. So what I did was, I was already handed down some of the sociology materials by a friend. So she had done sociology graduation. So some of her textbooks were with me, and some original essays by M.N. Srinivas sir, those content were also there with me. So I used to read this as part of preparation, as well as a leisure read. But slowly I started to understand what these thinkers are meaning, or what they are conveying by talking about these topics. So why this understanding is important is because in paper 2, anywhere in the question that is being asked, if you are bringing your own analysis from what you have done with this extra readings, that is going to fetch you more marks. So this is one tactic I used to do, that I used to write analysis as a separate heading, and I used to write my own insights. Suppose if it is about Sanskritization, or suppose if it is about any other concept like dominant caste, then I used to write some of my own insights. And so this was helpful in getting few extra marks, because this is my understanding. So this is my unique contribution from what I studied and what I understood. So but the catch here is, when you are writing your own analysis or your own understanding, you need to make sure that it is correct. So in order to do that, you will need the help of a mentor or a person who have anthropology background. So in my case, I did my test series at L2A. So Bala sir and I had a really good rapport. So I used to discuss these kind of insights that I was getting from these topics. I used to discuss it with him, and if they are correct, he used to tell me you can go ahead and write about it, or he will correct me by telling no, that is wrong. You cannot tell like that. You cannot write like that. So he used to correct me. So if you have a mentor like that, or if you have a teacher to rely on, it is here that teacher can be of the most useful. So this is one thing I did a little bit differently when it comes to paper 2. So again, as I said, I did read Sasa committee, I read Nadine Hussain, so I just got some understanding about the subject, but I felt that this is not enough to tackle the questions that are being asked, and I also went through the sociology materials that I was getting. So then what I did was that I got hold of Mandar Patki sir's notes. So Mandar Patki sir's notes were already in a very structured format and it was having so much content. Then I understood how I have to approach paper 2. That is, in paper 2, in order to make the paper more anthropological, we need to quote more thinkers. We need to quote more examples and case studies so that it looks more like a optional paper than like a general studies paper. So this idea I could get from Mandar Patki sir's book. So I made his book as the base material for tribal studies, caste studies, village studies. Then what I did was, I have some additional materials with me from the sociology textbooks that I had collected. I started adding this extra content into this primary material that I took from Mandar Patki sir. So after taking the content from sociology, that material, whatever I was having, I also went back to EPG Pathshala. So I would simply Google the term in the syllabus with the EPG tag, and then there will be some PDF available. From that PDF also, I'll take some content and I'll add it to my notes. So in this way, I was compiling my notes. But for some topics like communalism, it was very difficult to get content. So what I did was, so in particularly in the case of this communalism, we need to bring some thinkers because the topic exactly is asking anthropological understanding of communalism. So we need to quote some thinkers, otherwise it will look exactly like a general studies answer. So somehow I came to know that few thinkers like Veena Das or Louis Dumont had studied about communalism. So then what I could do was, I googled communalism, Louis Dumont. Then I found some sources where his understanding about communalism has been detailed. So I took the content from there. Similarly, Veena Das, I googled what she had spoken about communalism. So, and these names I was picking up from the test series answer key materials, or or maybe some toppers have randomly mentioned just the thinker's name. But I used to Google and try to understand what exactly that thinker told about this concept. So in this way, even for the less available topics like communalism, I was able to make at least 10-mark content notes and keep. Then so when it comes to making notes and covering the syllabus, this is what I wanted to tell. Again, like I said, for paper 1, dig a little deeper, use Google, you will definitely find content. It must be hidden somewhere. You need to use the right keywords to reach your content, but it is definitely possible. And in order to find that guide to reaching the content, you can refer these topper notes, but don't limit yourself to the topper notes, because there only that mugging up will happen if you are simply translating the topper notes into your answer. Try to find from where the topper got this insight, or what that particular, suppose the topper had written, one thinker said something that the topper had written in one line. You just Google the topic along with that thinker's name. So maybe you will get an understanding about what the thinker was actually talking about. Then restricting your understanding to this just that one line that is written in the topper's note. So this is one thing I wanted to tell in terms of note making and covering the entire syllabus. In paper 2. But more than the note making and syllabus, in paper 2, what matters more is the answer writing. Because most people, when they write answers for paper 2, it looks like a general studies answer. And that is the main reason why one may not be getting marks in paper 2. So what you can do is, you can sprinkle some thinkers and some examples and case studies in almost all the answers. And then you might be asking, how will we come up with thinkers? So if I'm specifically taking the case of tribal India, one thing you can do is, you can look for the thinkers who has done extensive research on some tribals. Like suppose there is a monograph by about one tribes by one thinker, then that thinker must have covered all the aspects of that tribal's life. Suppose it is Savaras. So if I am not correct, if I am not wrong, Savaras have been studied extensively by Verrier Elwin. So what you can do is, suppose there is a question on tribal art and you are writing some generic points, then you want to write some, some example, and you are writing about how the Saora tribal art, how, it is very famous now, it is very popular. There you can also quote about how Elvin had studied about this tribal art. You can just mention his name there because he had covered all the aspects of the tribe. So he will definitely not miss that particular aspect that you are writing about. So in this manner, if you are having tribes and associated anthropologists who have studied those tribes, you can easily sprinkle that. Like if it is about decline of youth dormitories, you can definitely quote D.N. Majumdar because so I had read his book. So in the book he talks about decline of youth dormitories. So I am pretty much aware that he has studied it. So anywhere I am writing decline of youth dormitories, I'll also mention the name that D.N. Majumdar has observed this among these tribes, whatever tribes he had studied. So these are some things that we will internalize when we are, trying to understand the subject and going a little bit organically into the subject. We'll, catch hold of some of these content. So these contents you can sprinkle easily across your paper too. So there will be so many thingers in your answers, and this itself will be enough to make it seem like it is standing out. But then again, when you are using these thingers, another thing you have to, be careful about is paper 2 is a little bit more analytical. So that analytical angle should also be there. Your answer should not just be like, you give one introduction, then thinker, you're quoting 10 thinkers and then you're concluding. That should not happen as well, because there should be some analysis. Suppose there's a question on, is caste still relevant today? You have to quote the thinkers, but you have to also bring some analysis. And contemporary relevance, you can talk about your understanding from what these thinkers have spoken about, and you can there in your understanding itself you can quote one or two thinkers whose understanding is in sync with our understanding, or our understanding might have evolved from one particular or one or two particular thinkers. So we can use their names along with writing what we understood. So in this way, instead of just writing in a point format, you can take a hybrid way of writing paper 2 answers. That is, you can rely on paragraphs as well as points. The only rule of thumb is you have to address the question and be analytical, and the paper should not look like general studies paper. So you have to quote some thinkers, some examples and case studies. So this is how I tackled paper 2. But since it is a very analytical paper, I would suggest you to experiment all these analysis and all these all these things in test series and get it corrected from a proper anthropologist, like a proper teacher who is having anthropology background, so who is able to correct you if you are going wrong and tell you to go ahead if you have come up with something really innovative and creative. So this is what I did for paper 2. And like I said, it was mostly random Google searches, EPG Pathshala, IGNOU materials, and the sociology materials that I got from my friend, along with Akshat Jain or this Mandar Patki sir's notes, Abala Mishra ma'am's notes, whatever sources those were available. I was simply taking content from all of this and compiling and making my own notes. So this is what I want to talk about paper 2. Thank you.